touch. He's giving it over free of charge to the king so that the king can build an altar to offer sacrifices unto God. I mean, this really looks like a deal. David then raises the question, I don't know if this is such a deal. See, to get property free of charge would be no problem if the property was for David. But because the property was not for David, it now creates an issue for David. I mean, if it was given it to the king, it would have been all right. But David was not going to use this property to build a monument unto David, but rather he was going to use it to build an altar unto God. So he's had to ask, is this really a deal or is it no deal at all? See, as far as David was concerned, this was not a deal when it came to offering up an offering unto God. See, to offer a discount to David might be all right. To use coupons for something for yourself and your family might be just fine. But this was not for David. This was for the Lord. And more important, it would not be a sacrifice at all. See, David knew that his actions would speak louder than words. If he accepted the threshing floor free of charge and built an altar and offered unto God a sacrifice, it would then invalidate the meaning of what David was attempting to do. See, to sacrifice means to give up something, and when you offer a sacrifice to God, you not only give up something, but you also give to God your very best. So he had to take the threshing floor. So if he had taken the threshing floor for free, it would have been a dishonor to God, because to give God something that cost him nothing would be saying that God was not worthy of a costly sacrifice. It would also say that David, that he was either unable or unwilling to offer unto God from his own goods. See, what Araunah had been, what belonged to Araunah belonged to Araunah, but what belonged to David belonged to David. And David could not offer another man's sacrifice for himself. Every man has got to offer what he can himself to God. David could not sacrifice Araunah's stuff, and Araunah could not sacrifice David's stuff. Everybody had to sacrifice their own stuff. And could it be that many in this world today suffer from the effects of today's consumer expectation and mentality? Come on, y'all. We live in a world where we expect sales, don't we? I mean, you want to do something, give us a discount, give us some freebies. I mean, we can't wait to get a good deal. But it's all right when it comes to the things of the world, but when it comes to the things of God, how many of you ought to be able to testify, if there's one thing you don't want on sale, is you don't want your salvation on sale? Much of what this world has to offer is already overpriced. Much of what this world has to offer is already overvalued. Much of what this world has to offer only robs and steals from us the good resources that God has given us. But when it comes to God, you and I can never repay God for what he has done for us. If there's one thing we don't need, is we don't need a discount deliverance. We don't need a salvation that's been put on sale. We don't need cheap grace. We don't need phony favor. We don't need a market that has a bargain blessing. I don't know about you, but I'm not looking for a coupon to get a commitment from God. But since I'm looking for what God has to offer, I'm not looking for anything that God has for me, discount. Because when it comes to my healing, I don't need a discount healing. I need all of my healing. When it comes to a breakthrough, I don't need a bargain breakthrough. I need the very best that God has to offer. And David said, when it comes to my praise, you got to understand that I've come to pour my worship out on him. I didn't come for a cheap worship. I didn't come for a sacrifice that cost me nothing. He says, if I'm gonna worship God, it's gotta cost me something. So David understood that his worship could not be cheap. Understand that the sacrifice, he says, that brought us into fellowship with the Father was costly. It cost Jesus something to save us. It cost him his life to die on the cross so that you and I might have life everlasting. And we belittle, even mock him when we respond to him with stingy and easy worship and easy service. See, David's attitude was, I ain't looking for the least that I can do and the least I can give. I'm not trying to just do something to get by, just to say I did something. I'm not trying to minimize my offering because I'm looking to maximize God. Man, you offering it to me free? You don't understand. I'm really trying to magnify God. And I can't magnify him if I minimize my offering unto him. See, to offer God something that costs nothing is all right for people for who he has done nothing for. But it ain't all right for me, because when I look back over my life, God has done too much for me to give him something that cost me nothing. Oh, I come to pour my praise out on him like oil from Mary's alabaster box. Don't be angry if I wash his feet with my tears and dry them with my hair. You weren't there the night he found me. You did not feel what I felt when he wrapped his loving arms around me. You don't know the cost of the oil in my alabaster box. I wish I had somebody in the house this morning who really understands the value and the cost of what Jesus has done for you. And when you think about all that he has done for you, you've got to hunt your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I didn't come up in here this morning for a cheap praise, because the reality is I didn't get cheap grace from God. How dare I complain about my church service in light of the sacrifice, if my puny sacrifice at all compares to what he has done? Oh, I wonder, when was the last time you gave service to the Lord that really cost you? I mean, when was the last time your wallet hurt for the kingdom? When was the last time you missed a meal for his service? When was the last time you just got plain tired and physically worn out for him? How many times have you said this church job or this Christian service is too hard? Can I preach up here and tell you that it ain't till it gets too hard, it's not until it causes you to hurt, that you really come to a place where you begin to offer some sacrifice unto God. As long as what you and I do leaves us in the realm of that which is comfort, as long as that which you and I do leaves us in the realm where we're perfectly fine. But it is not until you begin to hurt, it's not until you begin to feel like tears are running down, it's not until something begins to pain us that we really begin to offer the sacrifice. My God, have you ever thought about the pain and the agony that Jesus went through on that dark Friday? Had you thought about the pain and the humiliation when they put this crown of thorns on his head, when they stripped his clothes off of him, left him naked? Have you thought about the humiliation that Jesus went through when they pointed fingers at him and said, say that you are the King of the Jews? Have you thought about the humiliation that when he wanted water, they gave him vinegar to drink? When that soldier took the sword and pierced him in his side, when they nailed him to the cross? And sometimes you and I have got to be willing to hurt for the hurt that got us to where we are right now.